All right. So next up we have Kai Chung. She is the Global Head of Marketing for the Industrial category at Strategize. And her topic today is Strategize Rightshoring with Industrial AM. So Kay, would you like to just turn your camera on and your mic on, please? And you can come join me on stage. Once again, I will send you a little invite as well. So feel free to accept that.
Can you see me?
Fantastic. There you are.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my PowerPoint.
All right. I'll stop sharing. So that should allow you to share.
Okay. Where is, okay. Share. Let's see the window. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Oh, can you see it?
Yeah, looking good. Did you want to put it into presentation mode?
It is in presentation mode.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Well, okay. Take it away. Looking forward to hearing from you, Kay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. First of all, I just want to share a little bit about myself. You know, I really resonate a lot what Kathy had talked about in her conversation. So I also come from a very diverse background. I grew up in an engineering family, and my mother was one of the first generation that worked in male-dominated industry, heavy electric industry, and I started my career because of that influence. I started my career in new product innovation with General Electric and aerospace and oil and gas, and where I also got certified in Six Sigma Master Black Belt. And ever since that, I've been moving around with the organization and also worked for other industrial companies like Emerson. And now I'm leading the industrial business for Strategize. I had experience being on expat assignment, building up functional center of excellence for different manufacturing companies. I'm also currently serving on the board of directors for ASCM, which stand for Association for Supply Chain Management. So I resonate a lot what Kathy had mentioned. I also purposely, when I'm hiring, I purposely look for minority. I purposely look for people bring a diverse background. I really purposely look for women who can also do the job. And with that being said, I am going to go on to my presentation. So first of all, let me clarify, we've heard reshoring a lot from Kathy's conversation. I do want to kind of bring us back a little bit, talking about outsourcing, insourcing, all of that. So outsourcing is generally the practice to contract or delegate the part of the manufacturing process to a third-party company for resource or services reason. And insourcing is the exact opposite, utilizing an internal resource to conduct or perform that project. And offshoring is one type of outsourcing only, and really involving relocating part of all of the business function from one country to the other. And usually it's being measured as a low cost or engaging in any particular expertise or skill set. And offshoring largely became a main cost reduction trend since 1970s, and really elevated to a new height. Around 35% of the manufacturers around the year 2000 has become rely on outsourcing, offshoring as a main manufacturing strategy. Whenever there's a high volume involved, and as well as the high product standardization, offshoring makes a lot of sense because it's repetitive work, producing millions and tens of millions of the same parts. And when we talk about backshoring, onshoring, and inshoring, or even reshoring, all of those are very similar terms in terms of many of those companies have begun to reverse that offshoring ventures so that they can bring back their operations to the home base. And nearshoring just simply means that a OEM outsource part of or all of their operation to a nearby country. So you see that a lot of US-based companies have set up a Mexico operation simply because it's sharing the border and it's much easier on the ground transportation. And moving that operation to a lower cost organization or lower cost country. But still maintain a very close geography and as well as the cultural kind of similarities. It's often seen as a happy middle ground, or we're not going too far away across the ocean, but it's still kind of in the lower cost part of the world. And it's close by that we can, transport. And finally, let's talk about rightshoring, which is a topic for today. And rightshoring can also be called backshoring sometimes. And interesting enough, backshoring was made famous by Hillary Clinton, who wrote an article around year 2004 when she was still the senator, the U.S. senator for the state of New York. And she wrote this article explaining why backshoring is better than outsourcing, just simply outsourcing. And in summary, rightshoring really involves taking a very non-subjective mode of operation and highly analytical approach to identify what's the best location for your supply chain. Also meaning that you are making that decision solely based on quantifiable criteria, not based on anyone's personal feeling. And there is preset across the organization, avoiding any hard feeling and avoiding any subjective or political bias towards any of that process. And because it really avoids the speculation and seeks to weigh in all aspects, rightshoring is highly, highly regarded by the many of the supply chain professionals. And because all of those benefits, the analytical model is typically a weighted formula by what the most of factors impacts the given organization's supply chain. Now let's look at a simple illustration to really looking at a hypothetical company, okay, a US-based hypothetical company, that how all of those different factors might impact quantifiable criteria. Assuming this company is looking...
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt just briefly. Are you intending to flick through the slides? Because we're currently still on slide 1.
Oh my goodness, it is moving on my side. Why is it not? Why is it not?
Yeah, okay. So I think it's just, so what I think it was just about getting into presentation mode. So what we can see at the moment, so you might want to just like unshare and then just reshare.
Okay, let me see. Oh, that's weird. I'm already on slide 4.
I thought you might have been flicking through them and we just weren't seeing them.
Yeah, okay. This is weird. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, can you see it? Anything now?
No, we can't see anything currently.
Okay.
The other option too is just to send them to me and I can just flick through them for you.
Okay, can you see now?
Yes, we can, but it's still not in presentation mode.
This is not in presentation mode.
Yeah, so you just click on that button.
Okay, I'm going to click on the button, and then are you seeing it now?
It's not flicked into presentation mode.
Okay, this is very strange.
Yeah, it is a little. That's okay. It's all right.
Let me maximize the presentation, and so let me make it as big as possible so that you can see it at least.
You might want to just bring it down a little bit because then we can see it. And
Yeah,
then
can you see
it's actually fine. Yeah, like this is totally fine. And if you want to just like advance to the next slide, so we could just check that it's working properly.
Okay. Is it working?
Yeah, you just flick to the next slide then.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right. Yep, that works.
That works? Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Wow, technical difficulty.
Well, it wouldn't be a virtual conference without at least a couple of technical issues, of course.
Sure. Okay. So this is a very simple illustration. Let's take an example of a US-based company, right? When they're considering offshoring, inshoring, nearshoring, all of those different. So those are the typical things that they will take a look. Okay. So assuming this company that the transportation cost at the time is stable, okay, and the quality and the compliance, is meeting the requirements, okay, and risk is within the manageable range, okay. And so the company, the green side really favors the reshoring, and the yellow side really summarizes the uncertainty with the offshoring model. Okay, so this is the kind of the two sides they have to look at. Okay, geopolitical, cultural, fiscal policy might be highly impacted by the unions, rising labor cost, and conflicts between Russia and Ukraine are typical examples. And when the expertise become a single source, there's always a risk without any pricing leverage. Okay. On the other hand, back in the home country, okay, there will be a process. There will be a process improvement. There will be automation or corporate tax cuts to improve those domestic competitiveness. Okay. All right. And I also want to kind of point it out when global manufacturing companies also discovered after they started offshoring, okay, the component cost is not the actual cost, because when they look at the total cost of ownership, there's a price bug risk that really arises with offshoring the supply chain. Okay, so there's rising labor costs because then you have less control over that labor. And for example, I think in China, the labor cost has risen probably about 30% in the last 10 years. Okay, and high transportation costs. This is also the part that you really cannot control when the fuel price is going up, and it's a much longer supply chains. Okay, and potential quality issues that are really outside of your control, and high energy costs that you might be compensating for, and there is definitely a potential IP leak for your design if there's anything preparatory. And of course, tariff. There's always the fun part of the tariff. And so now let's talk about, simply offshoring is not a option. It is not really a good option. Clearly, I think all the manufacturers are realizing that. What about the opposite? Backshoring, just simply, pull everything back, coming back to the home country, backshoring it and onshoring everything or inshoring it. And what is that? There's a lot of limitations to it, which means that you have to put everything now in-house, and there's a lot of complexity to do that. And a lot more investment will be involved to, manufacture some simple components, even for very low volume, right? And then there's potential increase of costs because you're making more capital equipment investment to bring all of that in-house, and more process, also system for you to manage through, okay, in order to do that. Certainly with all of the benefit to bring back onshoring. So let me just go there. Can you still see it? Alex, you can still see it. Okay, I assume if you don't say anything. Okay. So for almost 20 years, Rightshoring has or bestshoring, as Hillary Clinton has brought up. What really brought or invented or raised to evaluate the sourcing model with a more analytical framework. And there's some company doing it as simple as just mixing up the onshoring with the offshoring or even nearshoring to really avoid to put the eggs in one basket. Okay, has now really involved in a more sophisticated quantitative model, assessments to involve make versus buy, and also for the entire process of the supply chain. Okay, to put the supply chains through the stress test and to make sure that, you know, if this happens, can my supply chain really sustain through that, right? I think overall, rightshoring really provides companies a much longer term competitive advantage over companies with either a single offshoring or onshoring model. And companies should be looking at this, more analytically, and also setting up the rightshoring as the best supply chain with the technology advancement in 3D printing or additive manufacturing. Now let's get to AM. Industrial AM. So as we are seeing, there's strong industry drivers pushing each industry segments to evolve faster into building a more robust supply chain. And something to point out is the emerging trend of distributed manufacturing, which is directly related to rightshoring, which means you're setting up your distributed manufacturing based on the best supply chain model based on the rightshoring framework. Okay, with the pandemic, okay, and the short supply chain situation, or the supply chain situation, we're seeing organizations really crossing the chasm faster than ever, and really accelerating at a full scale to create a distributed manufacturing model globally with industrial AM. Companies like within automotive, company within defense, within aerospace, all of the distributed manufacturing enabled by industrial AM has been set up across the globe. And when I heard industrial company are starting doing that and really establish a COE, a regional COE based on industrial AM, I'm like, this is really the time that we continue to push into industrial AM into the distributed manufacturing. And when we are seeing those companies, in all verticals, are really creating an additive COE, all the additive players, no matter hardware, no matter material or software, we have worked hard to advance in the AM to this stage. So with that being said, I am going to share a video. Let's hope there's no technical challenge with this. I hope you can hear.
Okay.
So this is only a snippet of all the different verticals that Stratasys play in, right? Which I have a direct access to, and as you can see, it's really pushing, from the day to day, from the kind of used to be the prototyping, now moving into tooling, moving into the end use production part, going into the space, and it's truly, to certain degrees, really replacing the traditional manufacturing. Okay. And so overall, there are a lot of benefits, right? As we can talk about all day long about the industrial additive manufacturing. And that really, really fits well within the rightshoring and the supply chain strategies, really reduce the stress and ergonomics, improve that ergonomics, and reduce the number of parts and the inventory that you need to carry, and dramatically reduce the lead time and, of course, cost, and then really keep that proprietary design IP in-house and provide manufacturers with high flexibility in their process, and provide a very high responsiveness to the immediate customer needs, which oftentimes is quite, like, if you cannot respond, you lose the opportunity, right? So, okay. And now let's talk about kind of how industrial AEM solves challenges in every stage nowadays within the product lifecycle. And Stratasys is the only polymer AEM supplier that can provide the best fit technologies for manufacturers to build Rightshoring supply chain strategies with, okay? So the first one is the product development, and in the background there is a PolyJet technology printed headlight on the automotive. And as you can see, the best fit technology from Stratasys for each stage of that, design concept to functional prototyping to circuit and trial parts. And there is, okay. So McLaren in UK leveraged the Stratasys Neo 800, which is the SLA technology for the wind tunnel modeling, and reduce the cycle time down to 3 days only, and 30% reduction in post-processing time. And Volkswagen in Germany leveraged the industry workhorse F900 from Stratasys to print a surrogate part to train robots and also human, as well as fixture and the rack design, and reduce production time by 3 months. And here is in the background is a General Motors hemming tool that they use on their production line. And this is printed in F900 ASA. And as you can see, that it really dramatically improved that lead time and reduce the cost and also weight as well. It's a quite large piece printed in F900. If anyone know about the Stratasys F900, it's the biggest FDM industrial kind of printer. Okay, we go there. And East West Industry, this is one of my favorite company or use case, really was able to free up their bottleneck. So instead of replacing a CNC, it's really freeing up the bottleneck in the CNC, and they can print their soft jaw and also metal forming tools at whenever and however they want it, and really reduce the lead time and cost saving there as well. Let's talk about production ramp up, okay? So this is an industrial machine builder, and they have leveraged the newest technology called SAF technology, which is a powder-based additive technology, to print a wide range of parts that go into those industrial machine build, which otherwise will have to be built in injection molded process. And but instead they were able to save close to almost 1 million in injection molds if they had to go outside and then build those molds. And of course the ROI paid off right away. And here is a couple of those examples. Some of those examples cannot even be made through the traditional method, because you have to probably injection mold a couple different pieces and then put them together, but with the SAF technology that you can actually nest them all together and print all at once. Okay. So with that being said, I try to speed up. Rightshoring with the industrial AM and really bring that manufacturing agility in-house. So am I on track for timing?
Good. About 4 minutes to go, and we don't have any questions, so please feel free to just continue on.
Oh, okay. This is actually my last. So in summary, that I just want to mention that right-shoring or best shoring is the most robust sourcing model that really takes all feelings out of the decision-making process. The quantifiable model can be built really to to really include a make versus buy, and with the really involvement for the entire organization. The industrial AM advancement has really created a unprecedented, created a really manufacturing agility in-house for manufacturers to take control of the entire product lifecycle. Now, I just want to thank you for the conference, for giving me the opportunity, and I'm open for any questions if there's any, or we can just have a conversation.
Thank you so much, Kay. That was fantastic. I love that. What was it? Right shoring, in shoring, best shoring. So many different terms that we can use, but it's really all the same thing, isn't it?
It is. I think people always want to reinvent the terms, right? And then, all the backshoring, reshoring, inshoring, all of that, it's really meaning the same thing. And then now people are not really talking about backshoring anymore. It was more almost a term used like 20 years ago now. And so people are all talking about rightshoring. Okay, it's all about rightshoring now. And I remember that, before year 2000, it was all about outsourcing, offshoring. Everything is offshoring. If you're not, any company is not doing offshoring, you must be doing something wrong, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's right. Definitely. And you mentioned that you are a member of the board. You're going to have to give me that acronym again, but it was
ASCM. Yes, Association for Supply Chain Management.
Yeah. And so how did you get involved with that? And how long have you been on the board for?
Yeah, so I've been on the board for a couple of years, and I was recruited to the board.
Okay. Oh, very good. Yeah. And I guess what has been the role of the association, particularly over the last 2 years, in taking a much more vocal stance?
Absolutely. So it's really serving as a education platform and providing certification and enable, with the technology that is available to the supply chain professionals.
Yeah.
Okay. And providing a networking opportunity for all the supply chain, professional as well. It's a global organization. Yeah. So I also appreciate that, Stratus is always giving me being probably the most diverse person in Stratus is based in Minnesota, right? I'm a native Chinese. I was born in Shanghai and grew up in Hong Kong and lived in the US for many years. And so I think it cannot be more diverse than this, right?
It's fantastic. And I loved hearing about your mum, who was an engineer as well.
Yeah. So my mother is who happens to be a polymer engineer many years ago. And she, got into, manufacturing technology, right, when there was very few women. And she, people like my mother really, really paved the ways for people like us, right, to get into, it's much easier for us to get into manufacturing. And I really think that manufacturing is sexy. Okay. So, I do mentor, my local school district. In the high school, there's a program called a Vantage program. Okay. And the Vantage program is for high school students, mostly in the kind of junior, senior stage. And they're trying to figure out what they want to do when they grow up, right? And so that's an opportunity for me to really give them really tell them about what is it like to work in technology, what is it like to work in manufacturing, right? And fortunately enough that we have, made enough, Stratasys has made enough, investment in education, working with the schools, the colleges, even the high school nowadays, really excited getting a Stratasys printer, right? So the high school student will now be really educated. How can I do this with 3D printing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Definitely. We actually, earlier in the day, during the APAC block, we had Veena Nair, who's a STEM teacher, who's been very instrumental in putting together a whole 3D printing program for STEM students at her high school, which
awesome.
coincidentally is actually my old high school. So,
where is it?
it's here in Melbourne, Australia. But
Okay.
it wasn't there when I was there. I've been graduated high school quite some time.
Yeah. We have a really good bonding with the education, because we believe the next generation is where who's going to really help us advance that industry, right, going forward.
Yeah, no, definitely. You have to start very early on in the pipeline.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us. We did actually have a question there that I didn't get to because
Wow.
I hogged all your time. I apologize.